Hey family, it's your girl, Boss B, and welcome to the Ask a Bee Show, the place where your letters come to life. Every day people write in with real questions about life, love, and everything in between. And together, we find hope, healing, and a whole lot of honesty. Because here on Ask a Bee, we don't just talk about problems, we talk about possibilities. So grab your tea, open your heart, and let's buzz into today's letters right here on the Ask a Bee Show. Hello, people. I missed y'all. It's been so long since I've seen you. I feel like a stranger. Not really. Okay, so there is something about Thanksgiving week that, it hits different when life hasn't exactly been handing out easy days. Anyone can be grateful when the sun is shining, the bills are paid, the people you love are safe, and everything feels smooth. But the grown folks, truth, okay? The truth our community knows all too well is that gratitude becomes the most powerful when it feels the hardest to find. Today, that's what we're going to talk about. Not the Pinterest version of positivity, not the smile through everything nonsense people try to sell you, but the real life grown up lived in, sometimes tired, sometimes angry, sometimes overwhelmed gratitude that isn't pretty, but it's real. Now, here's what I know. Every single person watching right now is carrying something, maybe it's a financial stress, or maybe it's family tension, maybe it's grief, maybe it's exhaustion. It's the holidays, y'all. It's all of the above, right? Maybe it's just the weight of trying to hold everything together while still being the strong one for everyone else. And yet here you are, showing up, participating, being part of the community. You don't realize how many people never even make it that far. Showing up is a miracle in its own right. Got it? All right. So today, during this thankful week, we're not pretending everything is perfect. Of course, no days do we pretend, okay? We're not going to ignore the hard stuff. We're acknowledging it. We always do, and we honor it, okay? And then looking for the piece of light that still manages to break through the cracks, because that's what strength actually looks like. Not pretending, not faking, right? Not faking, but choosing. Hi, Niecy, plus sister. Amen. Me too, sis. Look here. I'm grateful for my family and my plus family. I am too. So very. Happy pre-Thanksgiving. I'll be here tomorrow. You can thank me then. Honestly, I love you, lady. Your whole family has just made it a whole different season for me. Seriously. Sorry, I forgot to push this out there, guys. Forgive me. It's been a morning already, and I need to y'all need to get out there and send us some emails and buy some stuff. Christmas is a great time for me to peddle these t-shirts, because let me tell you, that's what my family's getting. And I'm going to get a random amount of them because I'm going to pass them out. Here's the thing. If you've had a rough year, if you've lost people, which a lot of us have, especially since 2020. Okay, I'm not going to use that word because YouTube doesn't like me to talk about it, but when everybody got sick. So you've had a rough year, you've lost people, lost stability, lost momentum. You lost trust or lost pieces of yourself along the way. You're not alone, okay? You're not behind. You're not failing. You're healing. You're adapting. You're learning how to stay grateful even when the cards are stacked against you, And that's the kind of gratitude that changes people's lives. That's the gratitude that keeps families going, right? That's also the gratitude that keeps you going. Don't forget that. Listen, the world is loud right now. Everybody is angry about something. Okay. Everybody is fighting for attention. Everyone is running, hustling, arguing, collapsing, and starting again. Rinse, repeat. We do that every single day. But here in this little corner of BBTV in the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, we get to do something rare. We get to slow down. We get to take a breath. We get to hear actual voices from actual people. And these people are trying to navigate real life, okay? Not some polished, filtered version of it. And we get to answer those letters with honesty and humor and compassion. And you know what? That good old ask a bee backbone, I guess. So today, we're going to dig into gratitude the BBTV way. Honest, raw, uplifting, and grounded. We're going to read your letters, laugh where we can, support where we must, and remind each other that even on the toughest days, there's something worth holding on to. Maybe it's something huge, maybe it's something small, but it matters. You matter, and that is the whole reason this show exists. Okay? Pardon me. Y'all, it's another dry day in Texas, but I have a hoodie on. It's cold. I'm freezing. I'm serious. It's got to be like 60 degrees out there. That's cold for us. Anyway, so thank you for being here. Welcome to the Thanksgiving week edition of Ask a Bee, the show where we take life exactly as it is and we make room for the light anyway, right? Now, y'all know this is my favorite part of the show because not only do I get to get my Southern accent going, but it's because Bless Your Heart segment is where real life walks in without knocking. Okay. It pulls up a chair and drops a story that hits a nerve we didn't know was exposed. This is the space where folks write in with the kind of situations that make you, kind of tilt your head to the side, squint your eyes, and say, now, wait a minute. What exactly is happening here? And yet, even when we want to roll our eyes so far back we can't see our past decisions, this is also the space where compassion steps forward and reminds us that sometimes people just need to be understood before they can be corrected. Okay. I'm trying to be the best that I can be, the best bee I can be right now. Okay. Let me put it that way. So, Bless Your Heart letters aren't just about someone doing something questionable. We'll put it that way. They're about the moments when people act from fear and frustration, confusion, pride, or pain, right? Anybody who's lived long enough knows we all had at least one season where our decisions were, well, they weren't exactly polished, okay? Some of us have multiple seasons. That would be me. It's crazy. Some of us have a whole series with bonus episodes, but we don't judge here. Not in this segment, not in this show. Here we take the mess, the misunderstandings, the emotional tangle, and we untie it with honesty and humor and a little bit of, my Southern grace. And thank God we're doing this during Thanksgiving week, because if there's ever a time we need a reminder that people are trying, even when it doesn't look like it, it's right now. People are stressed, okay? They're doing the best they can with what they've got. And when what they've got is running on fumes, sometimes it kind of shows up in a way that it makes you want to set your phone down, or walk away from the computer, or walk to the other room, just scream into a pillow. But other times It creates a story worth sharing, maybe even on the front porch some night. Because when you hear it, you realize you're not the only one navigating complicated family, complicated relationships, choices, emotions. Okay. Today's Bless Your Heart isn't about being petty or calling anybody out. It's about understanding the heart behind the chaos. It's about giving folks just enough room to learn without giving them so much room that they run wild. Now, it's also about remembering that sometimes a person's bless your heart moment is really just a cry for clarity and maybe a gentle reminder that love, boundaries, and common sense can all coexist. Okay. Let's get into this. It's Thanksgiving week. We're grounded, we're open, and we're ready. Bring me today's bless your heart letter. I promise we'll sort it out together. Now, I gotta preface this a bit. And definitely get my jaws working, because let me tell you, this is going to be one of my favorite letters. Now, not too many people know that once upon a time I lived in Louisiana for about 6 years. And unfortunately, when you're moving from one southern state to another, you tend to grab the dialect and hold on to it for dear life when you go somewhere and have that culture shock. So if I start sounding a little bit like a Cajun, it's because this is a little bit like a Cajun letter. Okay. And I love my raging Cajuns, so don't get me wrong here. But I'm going to tell you, I know what all these words mean, even if you don't. If you want to know what it means, put it in the comments. I will definitely try and answer it for you. All right, here we go. It's a term of endearment. Let me just put that out there. The very first word is one that probably only people in Louisiana know, and it's shat. Okay, it's a term of endearment. It's like saying baby. Okay, except for they say bebe. Never mind. Shat. Let me tell you something before my head pops like a crawfish boiler left too long on the fire. I've seen that. I'm an old Creole man from down in Terrebonne Parish. Been there. Born with one hand in the gumbo pot and the other holding somebody's secret. I done lived through hurricanes, heartbreaks, and 3 marriages that all ended with a suitcase flying off the porch. I heard it. Here it comes. But somehow, none of that ever got me as twisted up as what my youngest boy just pulled on me this week. See, now that boy of mine, 32 years old and built like a refrigerator, decides he's going to show up at my house unannounced, looking like he hasn't slept since the Saints' last winning season. I wasn't laughing, I swear. He busts through the door talking a mile a minute about how he's finally taking control of his life. I say, well, good, baby, because last time you took control, you ended up living in your cousin's boat for 6 months, laughing at pelicans. I know somebody like that. But he don't hear me. He got that look in his eyes, the same one his mommy used to get before she tried to fix something that wasn't broken. Wow. Now listen. This boy shows up talking about some woman he met online, says they've been spiritually connected for 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks. And he says she's moving in. I said, moving where, baby? Into your apartment? You ain't paid rent on it in 3 months. He says, no, she coming here. Daddy, you got the room. Oh, God, I'm getting it thicker now. I swear on my grandma's rosary, and it's grandmere, okay? I almost swallowed my own tongue. I ain't met this woman, ain't seen her name, don't know what she looked like, don't know nothing about her except she told my full child she's an entrepreneur in transition. That's already 5 red flags and a trumpet. Amen. But I try to stay calm yet. I did that right. Because I'm thankful this week because I'm thankful. I tell him, slow down, baby, let your old papa catch up. But he's pacing, waving his arms, talking about destiny and vibrations and how he needs to clear out the negative energy in my home. My home, B. I've been burning sage since before he was conceived. Don't tell me about energy. Next thing I know, he's rearranging my furniture, moves my recliner, my sacred Sunday recliner, out the living room to make space for her manifestation altar. I said, boy, the only thing manifesting in here is my temper. Amen. Then he had the nerve to tell me she's allergic to seafood. Seafood, B. So now apparently my own kitchen, the same kitchen that carried this whole family through storms, now got to be seafood free zone. I ain't never been tested like this, not by nature, not by love, not by God, not by nobody. So here I am writing you because my patient is hanging on by a tiny shrimp tail. I don't want to crush his hope, but I also don't want to end up with a stranger walking around my house, smudging sage over my gumbo pot and telling me to align my chakras while she eats my beignets. B, what do I do with this wild child of mine? Signed, Papa Renee from Terrebonne Parish. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I miss Louisiana so bad. I seriously do. Now, time for Tata de Bebe. Papa Renee, come see. Come sit with me for a second because we got to talk this through with both our hands wrapped around a cup of chicory coffee and the patience of a woman who's seen a few storms herself. Listen, when I read your letter, I could feel the humidity rise like August heat. I remember 20 miles from the coast, I remember, because only a Cajun daddy could explain a situation that wild with that much clarity and still sound like he's halfway trying to protect the child who got himself tangled in the net. Look, I'm going to tell you the truth the way somebody told it to me once. And I can tell you, it was a Cajun. Sometimes life doesn't test our faith. It tests our furniture, okay? And your boy, he done tried to relocate the holy recliner like it was a folding chair at a crawfish boil. That alone, Shy, that alone tells me we're dealing with a man who's emotionally spinning like a ceiling fan, okay? With 3 loose screws and 1 blade missing. But I also hear the part of you that's trying to understand him. Because a daddy's heart, especially a Cajun daddy's heart, always tries to make room, even when the room is still full, right? Let's talk about this woman. Oh, wait, maybe I better have a drink. Don't worry, no alcohol. I don't do that. Nope, I don't like alcohol. All right, this woman. I'm going to try not to be as judgmental as possible. But in a let's look at reality the same way we look at the tide. If it's rising too fast, something's off kind of way. A 2-week spiritual connection is the kind of thing that sounds beautiful at 2 a.m. over a candle and a glass of something strong, but in the daylight it looks like a man running on high emotion and no anchor. Okay. And Lord help us, when she said she was allergic to seafood, Papa Renee, that's like walking into a Mardi Gras parade and telling the float riders to stop throwing beads, right? I'm not saying she's bad, okay? But she is absolutely not calibrated for bayou living because, let's be honest, if a woman can't even share a pot of gumbo with the family, she's not ready for Terrebonne Parish. And Terrebonne Parish is not ready for her. Oh, and your son, bless him, bless his sweet little heart. He's not malicious, okay? He's just lost in that fog that some men get into when they're trying to grow, but don't know which direction the roots are supposed to grow. He wants purpose, you know, he wants connection. He wants a life that feels bigger than what he's been living. He deserves that, right? We all do. And when somebody offers him a little bit of hope, even flimsy hope, he clings to it like a cypress tree in a storm. I was there for Lily, y'all. I understand that stuff. But that doesn't mean, it does not mean, okay, he gets to rearrange your life to match his moment of inspiration. See, Papa, there is a difference between supporting your child, okay, and volunteering your home to become the set of whatever romance, motivational meditation retreat he thinks he's building. And the moment he moved your recliner, Lord, there it was. That was that was the line. You don't mess with a Cajun man's, you don't mess with a man's chair, period. And definitely not a spicy Cajun man, okay? That's sacred ground. That's Sunday territory. That's generational property rights, okay? But here's where the wisdom comes in, I hope. You don't have to break his spirit, okay? You just have to redirect the boat before it steers right into your porch. You look at that boy with all the calm your years have earned you, okay? And you tell him flat out, maybe Papa loves you, okay? Papa wants you to be happy, but Papa's house it's Papa's house. It isn't a love shack, right? If you want to build a life with this woman, you need to build it from your own foundation, not rearrange mine, okay? And you say it once, not loud, not angry, just firmly, like the way Bayou folks talk, okay? When we already made up our minds, yeah. So because deep down, he doesn't need permission to bring her into your home. He needs permission to stand on his own 2 feet and figure out who he is outside of your walls. He can't start a new life by borrowing yours. And when it comes to your kitchen, you don't negotiate with anybody who tries to restrict a Creole kitchen unless it's for medical survival, okay? Even then, it better come with a doctor's note, a diagnosis, and a backup plan, because no woman who has not earned her place in your family gets veto power over the heart of your culture, okay? If if she can't handle shrimp, then she can handle distance until she finds her bearings. So, Papa Renee, bless your heart for holding it together this long, okay? You're not wrong. You're not being unfair. You're not being stubborn. And you're definitely just being a father with boundaries, okay? A man with a home full of history and a cook with a, you cook with a gumbo pot that has fed generations. Your son can dream. He can love. He can chase enlightenment all the way down to the bayou. But he cannot bulldoze Papa's house in the process, okay? Guide him gently, but hold your ground firmly. Because at the end of the day, even the wildest child knows where home is, right? And that home stays standing because the people in it know exactly who they are, right? You got this, Papa. You got this, man. You got this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that one deserved some attention, because you know what? I think we've all had that. We don't have to be Cajun to have those kind of situations. And, I can't stress it more that he needs to learn how to be him before he starts trying to be somebody else's him, If that makes any sense. I don't know if it does, but We all become somebody's something when we get into a relationship or a new family. You know, I, I'm the daughter-in-law or I'm the sister-in-law. You get different labels, and sometimes you just gotta pick and choose what you can say and do. But I think y'all got this. I think it'll be okay. I think you need to stand your ground for sure, and I think Honey Pie needs to find himself his own place or pay up on his rent, maybe. Yeah, yeah. Tell him B said, "Do it, Shy." Okay. All right. All right, y'all. We're gonna have our gravel road letter now. I wish I'd found a funnier one, but I didn't. Because yeah, this one. It may be because it's the holidays. It kind of feels a little bit heavier. Maybe not. We'll see. You let me know. Now, it really amazes me how life can swing from laughter to reflection. In the space of a single breath. 1 minute we're talking about a Cajun daddy defending his recliner like it's the last piece of land in the bayou. And the next minute we're reminded that not every path we walk is paved smooth, right? Some of them are rough, uneven, uncomfortable, in the valley, on the top of the mountain, the kind where every step it it kicks up dust and memories, right? And things we thought we were done with. Well, that's exactly why we have the gravel road segment. Sometimes you think you're done and it's just not done yet. So because the gravel road letters aren't the funny ones and they're not the easy ones, these are the letters that come from the heavier corners of life. The places we don't talk about, at the dinner table, and really the feelings we don't post about, or we do and then get chastised for being dramatic. But you don't want to air your stuff out on social media anyway. Okay. Send me an email. Do that instead. The truth that we don't want anybody to see until we're desperate enough to whisper them out loud. Well, that's what I'm here for. You can whisper it to me. Okay. We can talk about it. It doesn't have to be your situation. Okay. It can be our situation. And that's how we grow and glow. Now, listen, these are the letters that come from people who are trying and stumbling and hurting and healing or holding on by a thread. And yet, they wrote anyway. Okay? They reached out anyway. They put their heart on paper knowing that somebody out there, well, they might finally understand them. And today, during Thanksgiving week of all weeks, this segment is going to take on a different kind of weight because gratitude isn't just about what we have. Sometimes it's about what we survived. It's about the moments where we didn't think we'd get back up, but somehow we did, It's about the pieces of ourselves that we just clawed back from the darkness. And, one painful inch at a time. And it's about recognizing that even the gravel road, even when the path cuts your feet and tests your spirit, you're still moving. You're still trying. And you know what? You're still here. And so am I for you. Now, the gravel road segment, it isn't about fixing people either, okay? It isn't about giving perfect answers. I told you, I'm not a professional here, but I have lived a life. 54 years is kind of a lot. Trying to say that without making myself feel old, but you know what? I'm not old, but I am wiser. And I have had experiences. And that's how you help somebody else grow in their path. You share your experiences or you share other people's experiences when they allow you, like the letters. So that's what I'm doing here. And this is always and always, always about honoring the truth of where these people are and meeting them there without judgment or shame. Okay? Because this is a community. This little corner of BBTV is built for the ones who walked through storms and still managed to show up with hope tucked somewhere inside their pocket. Even if it's tiny, even if it's fragile, even if it's all they have. So today's Rebel Red letter, pardon me, I hate Texas weather. Today's letter is one of those that makes you kind of slow down, breathe deeper, take another drink because you're talking so much. And remember that behind every question is a person who lived a whole life before writing it. Okay? Whoever wrote this one, they've got a story. Everybody has a story. They've got a weight. Everybody has weight. I'm not talking about Thanksgiving dinner weight either. Okay? Those shoulders, they get heavy. They've all got something they've been trying to carry alone for too long. So let's go there together, gently, honestly, and with the kind of compassion and transfer that transforms. Thankful. Let me reel that back in. Okay. I want to go fishing. Maybe that's what my problem is today. Anyway, it becomes a reminder, no matter how rough the road gets, you don't have to walk this alone. Okay. All right. Here's our letter. Dear B, I don't even know where to start, so I guess I'll just start where the cracks begin. I'm a 46-year-old single father, and for the last few months, I've felt like I've been driving down a road I can't see the end of. Gravel kicking up under the tires, dust clouding the mirrors, everything shaking, no matter how tight I grip the wheel. I've always been the steady one, the reliable one, the one who handled things without complaining, because I was raised to believe that if you're the man of the house, you carry the weight quietly. You carry the weight quietly, so nobody else has to feel it. But somewhere along the way, the weight I was carrying started feeling like it was carrying me. I've got a teenage daughter, smart, stubborn, brilliant, and a little too much like me for her own good. She's been struggling in school, struggling socially, and struggling with trusting me enough to tell me what's really going on. Ever since her mom left 2 years ago, it's been like she built a wall brick by brick, and I've been trying everything, talking, grounding, giving space, losing sleep, praying, begging, learning to braid hair badly just so she'd let me sit close to her, and still it feels like I'm always one wrong word away from her shutting me out completely. And I know she's hurting. I know she's angry. I know she didn't choose any of this, but watching your own child hurt and not being able to fix it is a kind of helplessness I wasn't prepared for. Then there's my job. I've been with the same company for 11 years. 2 months ago, they cut my hours. Last week, they cut them again. Now I'm staring at a stack of bills that don't care about reductions and a refrigerator that isn't laughing with me when I tell it to hold on just a little longer. I'm not lazy. I'm not irresponsible. I'm just tired and embarrassed and overwhelmed, and trying so damn hard to keep my daughter from seeing how scared I am, because children shouldn't have to carry their parents' fears like that. Amen. And on top of everything, there are days when I feel so alone, I don't even recognize myself. I used to have friends, a routine, a life, but somewhere in the shuffle of being mom and dad, provider and protector, peacekeeper and problem solver, I lost the version of me that existed outside survival mode. I miss the man I used to be. I miss having someone to talk to who wasn't depending on me for everything. And yet I feel guilty then for even thinking about needing support when my daughter needs me more. Oh, honey. I guess what I'm trying to say in the messiest possible way is that I'm at a point where the road feels rougher than my feet can handle. I'm scared of failing her. I'm scared of losing the little stability we still have. I'm scared of that decision, the decisions I make from this place of fear will mess her up even more. And I'm scared that if I don't open my mouth and say something to someone soon, I'm going to break in a way I won't know how to fix it. I don't need a miracle. I don't expect a perfect answer. I just needed someone to hear me, maybe point me towards a little hope, maybe remind me that the road doesn't stay this rough forever. Signed, Father who's trying. Wow. Now, that's one of those letters you got to take a deep breath before you can look into it, before you can even begin to try and find an answer that's worthy. And I'll say it again. No, I am not a professional. I'm no counselor. I don't have a license for anything. But honey, let me tell you, you're going to be all right. Okay? And I just want to commend you for being that father who's trying. Don't give up. You're almost there. I promise. Before anything else, I want to say this, okay? I really need you to hear this one truth straight and clear. You're not failing. You're not falling behind. You are not weak. You're definitely not a bad parent. A bad parent doesn't try. Okay? A bad parent just doesn't try. And you, my friend, are doing that. Not only in your everyday actions, but by writing to me right now. You said you felt like you were going to explode. Guess what? You don't have to now, because here we are. You know, I know you're a man carrying a load that would have probably snapped the spine of somebody with half your heart. And the only reason the road feels this rough is because you've been holding everything together. Okay? And for so long that without one single place to set any of it down, I know you're tired. Anyone who has walked down a rough road knows that the pain doesn't come from the distance, okay? It comes from never getting the chance to rest your feet. Let me tell you something else. Listen close. The fact that you wrote this letter at all tells me you haven't lost yourself either. Men don't write letters like this. Men, they're just done, you know? They write them when they're fighting. They write them when they still believe their child deserves the best version of them, okay? Even when they can't find the strength to feel like that version exists anymore, they write them. When the heart is too heavy to carry alone, but loyal to drop, or too loyal to drop, you're not at the end of your story. You're at the hardest chapter of your rise, okay? Now, let's talk about your daughter, because that pain you described, that ache of watching her hurt while she refuses to let you in, that's one of the deepest ones a parent can carry, okay? Teenagers will run from the people they trust most because it's the safest place to express the pain. And they don't understand that pain. She's not shutting you out because she doesn't love you, okay? She's shutting down, not out, down, because she doesn't know how to navigate her own grief, her own anger, because she's got to be mad, her own sense of abandonment. It wasn't just you that was abandoned, it was her too. And while you may be able to process it better, she can't right now. That's what she's screaming silently. Okay? Her silence is not a rejection. It is a bruise, and bruises take time. But here's the piece you're forgetting. Okay? She doesn't need you to fix everything. She doesn't. She just needs you to be present. Okay? Be consistent and steady and, stubborn presence, okay, that keeps showing up whether she pushes you away or not. You said you learned how to braid hair badly, but just to get a moment close to her. Don't underestimate what that means, okay? Children remember those things. They do. They don't always show it, but they feel it. And as someone who has seen a lot of families break under less pressure than the two of you are facing right now, I can promise you this. What you're doing matters. Your daughter may not be talking to you, but she sees you. She sees your effort. She sees your struggle. And let me tell you, she most definitely sees your love. And that's shaping her more than, any perfect speech could. So let's talk about the job, the bills, the exhaustion. Pardon me. And the fear, I guess, too. Look, you're not lazy. You're not irresponsible. You're not falling apart. You're living in a world that demands full-time strength while giving part-time stability. And that is a terrible combination for anybody trying to raise a family alone. I want you to hear this gently and firmly, okay? Your worth is not measured in hours worked or dollars earned. Your worth is measured in devotion, resilience, integrity, and the courage to keep trying when life keeps cutting your hours and your sleep. Now, even though it feels like the road is shaking under you, right? That shaking, it's not a warning. It's just a reminder. You're still moving. You're still pushing forward, okay? You're still showing up. Gravel only hurts when you're walking. It doesn't hurt when you give up, right? Pardon me. Lips are dry. Nothing good is ever easy. Nothing good is ever easy. You haven't given up, right? Don't. You're right there. You're right there. There's about to be a moment of clarity, and you're right there. So, a father who's trying, here's the part I want you to breathe in. You don't have to be everything at once. You just have to be there. And you are. You're doing what you need to do, my friend. You are. That's what your daughter needs from you, okay? That's what your life needs. That's what healing needs. Not perfection, not performance, presence. It's easy. So what do you do next? Take one thing at a time. You look for small wins. You stop trying to act like you're made of steel, okay? Start treating yourself like a human, being who deserves support too. You find one safe person, a counselor, a mentor, a friend, someone who can give you the space you're trying to give your daughter. You let yourself breathe. You let yourself rest. You let yourself admit that life has been heavy without turning that admission into shame, okay? No shame. No shame. No regrets. You're doing your very best. And believe me, that's all anyone can ask of you, including yourself. And that's who matters most. You answering yourself in that moment, okay? Most importantly, you understand that this gravel road that you're on, it's not permanent. Gravel turns to pavement, remember? Hard seasons turn to calm. Girls who build walls eventually take them down piece by piece when they realize their father never left. Okay? Even when they tried to, you were there. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, very soon, she is going to look back at this chapter and understand exactly how hard you fought for her. She's going to see every sacrifice you made. She's going to recognize that you didn't crumble even when the world gave you every single excuse to do so. And she's going to love you with a depth she couldn't understand while she was hurting. Listen, you're walking the hardest road a parent can walk, but you're walking, okay? You're still here. You're typing out letters. You're asking for help. You're present for her. You're present for yourself. And that means you're already doing better, way better than you think. Give yourself more credit, because that's your biggest failure right now. You're not giving yourself enough credit. That's the only failure as far as I'm concerned. Okay. All right, y'all. My goodness, that one was pretty heavy. You know, I think we've all had that similar situation with our kids. Kids, you know, they get to a certain age and they think that they know exactly what's good for them. And you know what? Unless we let them go and make their mistakes, they're never going to really figure that out. Now, are they? Your children have to learn from their own mistakes. Yes, they can learn from yours, but you cannot shove it in their face every time they make the tiniest mistake. You have to give them their space, and it's okay to ask for space and to give space, but don't lose the connection, because the two of you, that's all you have now. It's the two of you. But like I said too, any moment now, she's going to see, she's going to understand that while mom's leaving really crushed her whole world, and we're not sugarcoating, that's what happened. Mom crushed her. And I feel so bad for the both of you for having to go through that. But let me tell you something. I also believe everything happens for a reason. Everything. And there is a blessing. And it's on its way. And she'll see it. That's the real blessing. It's because she'll see it first. And when she does see it, the two of you will be unstoppable together. Absolutely. And life will go on. And she'll be better for it because you were present. You were this present. Writing a letter to a YouTube channel present. That just because you didn't know what else to do and you knew you had that you would be anonymous. So I have to tell you that. I am so proud of you for writing that letter and standing up for yourself and being present for not just her, but yourself. That's amazing. All right. Oh, y'all, that one got me in the feels. So here we go. I'm going to try and get through this segment pretty quick, but if we go over a few minutes, it's all right. This is the Jukebox Journey segment. Now, I am going to have a full show every Friday with the Jukebox Journey, but I like to warm up to it. And I do some shorts all week long. Those are also to warm up to it, as well as a small segment at the end of my show so that you know what you're looking forward to. So after walking through a gravel road story like that, and after sitting in someone's pain and honoring it with the respect it deserves, there's something healing about shifting into this part of the show. Because, music, it has always been that bridge between the heart that we carry and the hope we're reaching for. It's the reminder that no matter how heavy life gets, There has always been a song that could hold us when words couldn't, you know? And if Thanksgiving week has taught me anything, it's that gratitude hasn't always come from perfect moments. Sometimes it comes from the soundtrack that helped us survive the imperfect ones. So, Jukebox Journey isn't just a music segment. It's history, it's storytelling, and soul work. Okay. It's memory lane all wrapped into one big old giant music burrito. What am I talking about, Dark Leprechaun? I am talking about music history right now. We just got into that segment. Thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving. Hello, Big Jack. Happy to have you all here. All right. So this is where we take an artist and peel back the layers, not just the fame, not just the charts, but the human story and the trials that kind of shaped them, right? The moment that broke them, the fire that rebuilt them, the reasons their songs touched us in places we don't always talk about. Oh, thank you, Dark. Very happy to have you. Thank you. Okay, so that's why this segment sits so well right after the hard letters, because after everything we've just talked through together, the exhaustion, the fear, the love, the burden of trying to do right by someone you'd give your last breath for, right? Music helps, or it steps in like an old friend tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, I know that feeling too. Some artists sing for money, some sing for fame. But the artists we talk about on this show, the ones we choose for Jukebox Journey, they sang for survival. They sang because life gave them storms, and they learned how to turn thunder into rhythm. They sang because they understood pain and passion and the long stretch of road kind of between falling apart and pulling yourself back together. They sang because people like us needed something to hold on to. And today's artist. This one fits Thanksgiving week in a way that only a true survivor, a true powerhouse, a true spirit on fire musician can. The kind of performer who didn't just take the stage, they claimed it. The kind of artist whose voice could slice through chaos and still carry grace. And also, the kind of icon who turned resilience into an entire era of music. So take a breath with me, shake the dust off of our shoulders from those letters, and let's step into a story that reminds us that strength sounds like, what strength sounds like when it's set to a melody, right? Let's take this jukebox journey together. Heart first, gratitude second, music all the way through. Okay. So we do have a letter today. I'm going to let this one out here real quick before we get into the real big stuff. Dear B, I've watched your Jukebox Journey segments for a while now, and I love how you pull the story behind the music. Not just the charts and the fame, but the real heart of the artist. So for Thanksgiving week, I wanted to write in about someone whose music has carried me through more seasons of life than I can count. Mick Jagger. Right on. I'm 58 now, and I grew up in a house where music was the only thing my family didn't argue about. Same here. So my parents, they fought about everything. Money, work, relatives, chores, the kind of stuff that wears down on a home even when nobody wants it to. But when my dad would drop the needle on a Rolling Stone record, something shifted. The air changed. He softened. My mom would crack a smile that she didn't know she still had. And for a few minutes at a time, Jagger's voice held our whole house together like glue. Amen. Now, as a kid, I didn't understand why the music felt so powerful. But as an adult, especially after losing both my parents, I finally get it. It wasn't the songs. It was Mick's ability to make life feel bigger than the moment you were stuck in. My dad used to say, son, this man sings like he's fighting the whole world and still winning. And the older I get, the more I realize my dad wasn't talking about rock and roll. He was talking about survival. The truth is, B, I've been struggling lately. Empty nest hit me harder than I expected. My daughter left for college last year, and even though I'm proud of her, the silence is in this house is louder than any guitar riff Jagger ever tore through. I used to have someone to cook for, someone to pick up after, someone to worry about in the way only a parent can. Now I'm learning how to exist in a space that feels so too big for just me. And last week, when the loneliness crept in again, I dug out my dad's old vinyl, the one he played until they had more scratches than shine. I put on Gimme Shelter, and the moment Mick Jagger's voice hit that first line, it felt like I'd been plugged back into something alive. Not just memories, but energy, fire, a reminder that you can be shaken and still keep moving. I guess what I'm trying to say, B, is that Mick Jagger came back into my life exactly when I needed him. The music didn't fix the loneliness, but it made me feel less alone in it. The same way your show does for people every single day. Aw, I didn't read that before. You're going to make me cry. So my question is this: how does a man like Mick, who has lived so many lives, survived so much chaos, and seen the world at its best and worst, still get on that stage with the same swagger, the same force, the same fearless energy? And more importantly, how do the rest of us find that kind of fire when life feels tired and quiet? Oh, good questions. Wow. Yeah, those are some good questions there, Mr. Still Spinning the Stones. Me too, man. Me too. Look, I got to prepare for this one. All right, y'all. Look, before I say one word about Mick Jagger, I want to say something to you. Grief doesn't always come wrapped in black clothes and funerals. Okay, sometimes it comes wrapped in silence. The kind that just settles into a house after a child leaves home, the kind that makes every room sound like an echo of who you used to be. Empty nest isn't just a phase. It's a whole emotional landscape nobody prepares for. I should know. I'm just now hitting it. Sort of. But especially not parents who spent, 20 years giving every piece of themselves to their kids. And I want you to know the loneliness you feel, it isn't failure. It's proof that you love deeply and consistently. Yeah. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be honored. Okay? And now, Mick Jagger. You want to know how a man like him keeps stepping on stage with that same electric swagger, that same explosive fire, the same I dare time to come for me energy? It's because Mick never let life convince him that the quiet parts of aging means he's done. I think that's true for a lot of our older stars. He understood something most people don't learn. You don't stop moving because you get older. You get older because you stop moving. Okay? Mick's fire wasn't accidental. It wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was discipline. It was choosing every single day not to surrender the parts of himself that made him feel alive. Okay? People think swagger is just attitude, but with Mick, swagger's survival. Think about it. He lived through the loss of friends, bandmates, lovers, family. He lived through addiction, ripping through the people closest to him. He lived through pressure so intense, it nearly destroyed the Stones more than once. Okay? He lived through eras where rock and roll was declared dead every 10 years. He lived through heartbreak and scandal, reinvention, and an entire world assuming he'd burn out young. Oh no, not Mick Jagger. But instead of folding, he made a choice. If life wasn't going to give him stability, he'd create rhythm. If the world wasn't going to give him peace, he'd give himself motion. If time wasn't going to slow down for him, he'd outrun it. That's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? Every day, just trying to outrun it. Look, the reason that matters, the reason that matters to you is because the fire you're looking for, it's not gone. It's just quiet. It's just kind of smoldering. Okay. It's waiting for permission to come back to the surface. All you've got to do is fan that flame a little bit, buddy. I'm telling you, it's not, you're not at a loss here. Okay. You're not at a loss. See, Mick never stopped performing because performance was where he remembered who he was before the world got heavy, right? You wrote in about your dad dropping the needle on the vinyl. That wasn't just nostalgia, that was identity. And when you picked up that record again last week, you weren't just listening to music, you were remembering the version of yourself who knew how it felt to be alive, right? I do that with music all the time. The mistake people make after the kids leave is, they start shrinking their worlds to match the silence. That's the wrong move. They stop playing music out loud. Don't do that. Turn it up. They stop dancing in the kitchen, doing chores. They stop doing the things that make them feel like more than a caretaker. But Mick never stopped claiming the parts of himself that made him feel like a whole human being. And that's exactly what you need to reclaim, okay? Your daughter didn't take your purpose with her when she moved out. She took the chapter you gave her. Now you get to write the next one. And if Mick Jagger can hit 80 and still move like a man who refuses to be dimmed, then you, with your heart still beating and your memory still singing, can absolutely find your fire again. And here's the part you really need to hear, okay? Loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of self. Sit with that. Breathe it in. Reignite you. And the silence becomes space instead of punishment, right? Put the record back on. Turn the volume all the way up. Neighbors will get over it. Don't sit in the doorway of the past like your story ended, okay? Your life isn't shrinking, it's shifting. It's just a new phase, okay? If Mick can survive the weight of legend, you can survive the weight of an empty house. And if Mick can still step into the spotlight like it's oxygen, honey, you can step back into your own life one song at a time. Okay? Now, if we're talking about Mick Jagger, we're not just talking about a singer. We're talking about a man who built an empire out of attitude, authenticism, rebellion, and sheer creative force. And to understand the fire that's still spinning, the Stones was talking about, you got to look at the history of what shaped it, okay? Because Mick didn't just live through musical evolution. He caused a lot of it. First off, okay, Mick didn't grow up in a musical family the way people assume rock icons did. His dad was a PE teacher. His mom was a community organizer. He wasn't born into chaos. He was born into structure, which makes this transformation into the world's most flamboyant frontman even more fascinating. He was a quiet, thoughtful kid before he became Mick Jagger. That stage persona, it wasn't inherited, it was engineered. Yeah. Most people don't realize Mick went to London, or the London School of Economics, pardon me, LSE, I believe is what it was called. London School of Economics. Economics, rock and roll. At least he knew how to make money at it, right? One of the most prestigious institutions in the UK, London School of Economics. This man could have been a politician, an economist, a public policymaker, and yet he chose music. Not because it looked glamorous, but because it felt honest, right? He walked away from the version of life everyone expected him to live and built a new one from scratch. That alone is a blueprint for half of your audience who are scared to pivot, right? So then there's the Stones' original story, the legendary train platform moment with Keith Richards. Keith noticed Mick holding Chuck Berry and Muddy Waters records. The kind of blues that, it didn't influence just rock. They birthed it, right? That moment is music history, butterfly effect. If Jagger had carried a different record or stood on a different platform, rock and roll might have taken a completely different shape. Seriously. People talk about the Stones as if they were always unstoppable, but the truth is, they nearly fell apart multiple times. 1967, drug raids. They could have ended their careers. Seriously. Yeah. Brian Jones, his decline and his death, which it really fractured the band emotionally. And then there was Altamont 1969, the darkest chapter in rock festival history. Internal wars, business battles, addiction storms, ego clashing, decades-long tension between Mick and Keith. But Mick was the spine, Keith was the soul. Charlie was the heartbeat, but Mick was the engine. He trained like an athlete. He rehearsed like a scientist. He performed like a man who understood he was carrying history on his shoulders. He once said in an interview that he always wanted to be dangerous and well prepared at the same time. And that's exactly how he built his longevity. Mick's stamina, not an accident. Certainly not a miracle. Not genetics. No. He trained like a marathon runner. Even now, he spends hours before shows doing cardio, dance rehearsals, vocal warm-ups, stretches, and breath training like he's preparing for the Olympics. Mick's voice, critics love to call it ragged, but his tone, his texture is better than people give him credit for. He protects his vocal cords. He never screams from the throat. His whole life, he's treated his body like the instrument that it is. Mick's writings, brutally honest, emotionally fearless, and way smarter than the rebellious image suggested, right? Gimme Shelter, Sympathy for the Devil, Paint It Black. Those weren't songs for entertainment. Those were commentaries on the world falling apart around him. He saw things, okay? He felt things, and he put his truth into melody the way other people put theirs into journals. And here's a kicker most fans don't know. When Charlie Watts died, the quiet anger of the Stones, most people assumed it would be the end, that the band would finally retire. But Mick said the Stones weren't just a band anymore. They were a living legacy, and legacy does not retire. Now, his grief, it became fuel. His loss, it became a purpose. And his age became defiance. Every time he steps onto a stage now, he does it not just as Mick Jagger, the performer, but as Mick Jagger, the survivor, the historian, the guardian of sound that shaped generations. So when we talk about how he still has the energy, how he still has the fire and the moves, boy, he got the moves like a man who outran decades. The answer is simple. Mick never stopped respecting the work. He never stopped respecting the music, and he most definitely not never stopped respecting himself. And that's why he's still here with us. I believe that wholeheartedly. All right, you guys. That's some good history there for our jukebox journey segment. Oh my goodness. Now, let me get situated again. Listening to stories like Mick Jagger's stories about longevity, teamwork, survival, showing up when life doesn't make it easy. It reminds me of what makes this whole community special. Absolutely special, amazingly special. And I don't just mean BBTV. I mean the entire iron sharpening iron universe, okay? That I'm connected to. And it's just amazing. And I think you all should be connected to it in some way too. Listen, um, we have all kinds of different spin-offs that are just going crazy right now. Just like tonight is our Battle of the Sexes. And none of these shows, they exist by themselves. They exist because people show up for each other, because everyone brings something different to the table, and because we're building something that lifts more than one voice. Pardon me. And that's the real beauty of all this. Everyone watching right now is part of a bigger family. Whether you came in through BBTV, through Big Jack's shows, it doesn't matter. You wandered in through one of our shows. You're here, and that matters. And you matter. You're helping create a space where people can laugh 1 minute, heal the next, and learn from each other along the way. And I can't tell you how thankful I am to be a small piece of that. And since it is Thanksgiving week, let me go on and say this clearly. Thank you. Just thank you to everyone who shows up for all the shows, not just mine. Thank you to those who support Big Jack, who support Walt and Mama Lions, who support Ladies Diary, Battle of the Sexes, Gentleman's Journal, We Be Jammin', Iron Sharpening Iron Universe. This is an ecosystem, and we're pouring our hearts into it, and we're doing that for you. Now, speaking of showing up, a lot of you already know, but for those who didn't, Battle of the Sexes tonight. Yes, yes. And if you've never seen that show, you guys, it's a whole event. You should be there. The debates, the jokes, the audience energy, the letters. Yes, we do letters there too. It's one of those places where everybody brings their A game. And I promise tonight will be no different. So if you want to see me outside of Ask a Bee and in full Boss Bee mode with the crew, pull up, you'll enjoy it. And if anything else in today's show connected with you, the letters, the stories, the music, the message, don't sit in the background. Be a part of it. Send your letters in, please. I've got it scrolling across the bottom. You got no excuse. Grab some BBTV merch too, and some Iron Sharpening Iron merch. They're all in the same place. That's because we are one big universe. I'm certainly just a galaxy over here sitting in this big universe, but I'm certainly happy I am. All right, y'all. Every follow, every share, every moment of engagement keeps this whole universe growing stronger, because at the end of the day, it's not about one show, one person, or one moment. It's a collective. It's a movement. It's about a tribe of people choosing to grow and glow and show up for each other, even on the toughest days, even when Texas weather gets me. as we wrap up today's journey from the bless your heart chaos of Papa Renee to the deep heartbreak of our gravel road father, and, to the resilience and fire of Mick Jagger. There's a thread running through all of it. And the thread is this: life is not one note. It's not all heavy. It's not all funny. It's not all music. And it's not all pain. Okay. It's woven, layered, messy, beautiful, frustrating, surprising, and somehow still worth getting up for every single day. And that's exactly what Thanksgiving week is about, at least mine. Gratitude isn't denial, it's awareness. It's being able to laugh. I see you tonight, Niecy. Love you, honey. I'm grateful in the ways I can be today. And if this episode showed anything, it's that strength doesn't have just one voice. Sometimes it sounds like a man, burying his soul over an empty house. And sometimes it sounds like Mick Jagger refusing to let time have the final say. And every one of those voices belong in this community. Every one of those stories matters here. All right, y'all. This has been BBTV. And this has been Ask a Bee. And please don't forget us tonight. We'll see you later on Battle of the Sexes. Go check us out. Bye.